Okay, I recently did a video on weapons and armor and a helmet of the Greeks being found in the Philippines, and it dates to somewhere between 450 and 800 BC, all the way out on the islands of the Philippines. And I made mention of how, in the video, how the crest on the back of the battle axe that's there is actually a crest that's commonly known through many civilizations, from China, Japan, through Nepal, Buddhism itself, in India, and it actually carries into Sumerians, where they have a same trident symbol that goes along with this, that's double-headed like this one is, where you would hold it in the middle, and it contains the same symbology and concept and idea. And this all goes to an idea of a trident that you would see. In fact, when you look at this, you can see that, I guess, an idea of thought here, what we're seeing is a trident. There's 1, 2, 3. Now there's a claw on the other side that equals this, but you have 1, 2, 3. On the other side, there's a depiction. If we drew it exactly symmetrical, you wouldn't see the fourth one. I'm not saying all tridents are 4D representations. I'm just saying this is what goes with it. You can see that what this really is, in essence, is a spike running through the center of 4 claws. Claws of an eagle, if you will. Talons, if you will, holding and encompassing. Some of these will have a symbol that's put inside of here also, but generally it's a spike with this claw. This goes with sky gods and storm gods, and how they have a lightning symbol, and this is a symbol of lightning and the power of it. You see it all the way from Shiva's weapon through many, many aspects of different cultures. And let's just take a look at a few of these so we can see this, but I want you to clearly note that if I just lopped this off here and stuck it on the back of a battle axe, that's what's shown in that Greek photo that we were looking at in yesterday's or day before, depending on when you're looking at this, is symbology. And sometimes you'll see this done in 4s, like this, almost in a swastika motif, where it's a symbol that goes round and round, if you will, always containing this claw motif, the spike running through the center, and so on. Florets and fleur-de-lis around the center parts of it. And the one that we looked at in the Greek one, this was done as an elephant, and that was the strange concept that you can see, where maybe they had contacts with elephants and so on. And of course there's elephants in the Levant area and into Africa, and they used them in the Punic Wars and everything in Hannibal, and we all know that. But then also they have elephants way over here in India and up through the Orient that they used also, and it seemed to be quite a connection. Of course, you can't look at the ears and say, oh, it's an Indian elephant or whatever, but here we also see something that looks like a dragon, or perhaps even an elephant with its tusks coming out and so on, tusks coming out. So, power of a dragon. Dragons ride through the sky. Cloud dragons. Cloud dragons get mad. Cloud dragons cause electricity, lightning, things along that line. Storm gods effigies. You look at some of these and you can definitely tell it's got this claw motif. But what I want to notice about this with you, if you're looking at this, is that what we have here is a claw on this end, and what we have on that end is that blade that looks conspicuously very much like that blade that we were looking at in the Greek motif, knowing very full on and well that it was a Greek motif. But whenever I tell you that this is from India, and this is a Vara 15-inch bronze Ganesh Hindu god weapon, that might bring things in a little bit more perspective, and how all of this connects with each other, and who had brought this to different places, and this concept. You see the spike running through the center, the claws encompassing it. And I think that'll do it right there, but let's look at a lot more of this, because there's a lot to it. You can find them from little effigies all the way down to something along like this, which almost looks like two crowns stuck on the end of something, but it's not a crown, it's a crest. But that crest is always made of claws in a concept that dates back to before recorded mankind's histories. It's a symbolism thing that we can find, and symbolism helps take you a little bit farther back, but it also shows you connections that you couldn't make other ways. Until genetics got a hold of us pretty good here recently, we were looking at pottery, rims of pottery and the way that they did pottery styles, and you could tell things were passed around, and other symbolism like these and ancient symbols, something I've studied quite a bit. And I've made all kinds of conjectures out of symbolism, but yet at the same time, now genetics can go, yep, here it is right here, bing, and it's amazing how it just shows up. You can see a ceremonial death dagger, probably used in ritual sacrifices here, containing this same concept here above the skull and the dagger. There are thousands and thousands of depictions of these all around, and it could be called a dorje or a veira. Thousands of these symbols, quite often attached to a bell on the bottom where you can pick it up and ring the bell, right? Baal and bell and their contacts, and things that look very much like crosses. Very much like crosses. For a good reason. But you can find them everywhere. This is a ritual component of a Tibetan monk. Why does that have that same iconography? Why? What connects it to ancient Buddha? What connects Buddha to what you can't see right here is a trident that's sticking up. This dorje blessing that they have in their rituals. It's kind of a strange thing, but they've even found ivory bone buttons, thousands of years old, that have that same symbol. And if you'll look, the center is a yin and yang bisected, and instead of using the two holes as the yin and yang, they definitely make the two dots of the yin and yang. And you say, well, that's yin and yang. Okay, so that's China and the Orient. And you go, no, this is found in Tibet. What? Yeah, it's found in Tibet. So who are these Buddhas and things that were passed on? Well, Buddha had blue eyes. We can look in that here in a minute, and there's a lot of depictions shown of such type things, but you can look at all of these small dorje here that you see, and they've made them to where they slide onto things, so this can go onto hair as a small ornamental decorative device, or around necklaces and so on, and what we find is a trident on one end, and then that symbol on the top of it. And again, they're just thousands of these. This isn't like they found 6 of them, people. This also goes with this concept and the trident. And you can see that it has a connective symbology somewhat. If we had the loosened rings that were made upon it while it was being made, look how well crafted that is and how they did it. You can't get that loop off of that. So it's all crafted together. It's amazing. But then that symbology of the ball and the clasp here and running out here. Now this is a Katvenga trident that they had found, but quadent, if you will, but it's really just a 4D representation of that same idea of being able to wield lightning, if you will. And as we look at a lot of these, again, here's a bell on the bottom. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Is it just a standpoint, or did it have a bell effect to it? Well, quite a few of them do have bell effects to them. See some of these recreated. There's those buttons again. A lot of these depictions of this, you find them on ceremonial daggers. Again, thunderbolt bell, they call this. Thunderbolt. So here we have lightning, the thunder god, god of thunder, storm gods, and a bell. And if you look at that bell, it looks very English, stuck right on the end of that. But, you know, how can you do different bells? Well, here's different bells, and they all seem to have that motif that's there that you see. Isn't that strange? Ding! The ringing of a bell, the harmony of a sound. I'm not going to go deep into concepts like that, I guess, but you can find it on ceremonial daggers like this all over the place. Strangely, you find depictions of Shiva and so on, and you'll find that same odd trident effect. And when you look in the face of this guy, you can kind of tell his ethnicity pretty easy here. It's god of death symbology and stuff, and now I've become destroyer of worlds, as was said whenever they made the atomic bomb. This is a concept that leads some of these ancient depictions. So let's look at this god of thunder, thunderbolt gods that we're talking about, and now we see that double prong situation going on here. Very much so. He is throwing his thunderbolts. He also has a sickle, people quite often don't, and a sword. But his weapon of choice at this moment is a powerful weapon, for he's killing off the demon. And he's using lightning, which you can find between Zeus and Ninurta, Jupiter, and these ancient gods, all the way through Sumerians, and the master of beasts and concepts. There's a lot of pictures of this. You can see him stepping forward, throwing his lightning bolts. God of war and hunting, Ninurta. So that continues it. Ceremonial daggers used in death, in ceremonies and rituals. That same thing stuck in the center of it. That power of lightning that's in between there, that they capture in between it, and goddesses. And now we're looking at more Buddhist ones. And the power of a snake, the venom of a snake, the bite of a snake, the power of lightning. So you can see this echoed over and over again, and through many cultures. But where did it originate from, and who brought it around to everybody? And I think we can kind of see where that's found. There's an ancient one right here, which you can see in this Chris dagger form, done out of the snakes and the intertwined snakes. The gods on top, on a horse or a dragon. It's up there. I know I'm dragging it through these photos here just terribly, but see if we can find it on other axes anywhere. Yeah, I mean, if I really looked up and tried to do this, all I need to make probably is a few connections. You can really see this effect. Crowned axe. Well, that's not a crown. That's the exact same thing we were looking at before. That's not a spike, but sure enough, yeah, you can definitely see that's connected. So there's a lot of this. And again, how does it connect to that Filipino weapon? Well, geckos and lizards that they had on their helmets and all these type things really kind of show a connection that people aren't willing to make quite often. But quite often it has to do with this trident. That won't focus in. Let's see if I can attach it to a few more things here before we release this one. You can see in pendants, Budda, everything. This tishul, this trident that's there, that looks like that, but for Shiva looks like this. It sometimes is drawn in representation that looks like this, for it contains the swastika, the Om, and the trident, which could be a bird holding its wings up. Hint, hint. But it could be a lot of other representations, for you can see it here in this bell, and its representations of snakes and venom. Well, what does this all go back to? Well, there's a lot that it goes back to. But how about if they find some of these things in Borneo? Yeah, in Borneo they have these double-ended trident things that really look like they're from India somewhat, or Buddhist. And does that make any sense to anybody, really? Well, these guys get around. And again, I'm thinking that right there just about does it with the blade on the other end. Now this is huge on this end and a smaller blade there, giving it weighting there, but the other one was done in the other way, where it had a small one of these attached to the end of that, and then a large handle that was running down through it. And this doesn't contain the handle, but it still contains that axe blade, doesn't it? So you can find these around the world in this trident effect. If you look at some of these, here's an open claw, here's a closed claw, right? Claws. Santa Claus. You can see the effigy that's drawn into these things. And so there's some more connections for you guys. So somebody just asked me the thing, what video has where I show the connections of these in it? And it's in about 5 or 6 videos that I have where it actually makes the connections of these. There's one about a Tibetan temple that has it on it, and it connects with Ninurta and all the other type of things. Oh, and I was going to show you a blue-eyed Buddha just for grins and giggles. Most people do know this. Pardon me for scaling up so many pictures here through you, but let's just try it into blue eyes. Blue-eyed Buddha. So is there a figuring of trident? Let's try to take this just a blue-eyed Buddha. And there's not just one depiction of Buddha with blue eyes, but Buddha is shown in all these temples and all these effigies. This concept of having blue eyes. Quite often the eyes are a weird wiggled shape. That has to do with the ears of an elephant, which also elephants make this thunder when they run across the ground. Here's Central Asian Buddhist monks passing on knowledge to priests using this. These are the long-eared people. Well, he's got the long ears. He's got red hair. He's got blue eyes. He is Gautama Buddha passing on information to a priest. This is drawn on a wall in ancient times, and there's so many depictions of this type, of this blue-eyed Buddha that go along with this, and the blue-eyed gods of the Sumerians and Egyptians, and for that note, just everywhere. So blue-eyed Buddha. See if we can make another connection here. Here's that Greek armor that we were looking at recently, and they can show you that in the Philippines, before Magellan actually makes it there, they are mocking an armor with a chainmail effect of some people that they had run into long before that had this chainmail, and they weren't a people known for making chainmail in any way, shape, or form, really. I mean, just to be honest with you. And, well, there's that picture again. And you can see the trident form and the open and closed claws, and how they're all over the place. And in bells, right? So many of these forms, variations on a theme that people have seen for a long, long time. Ooh, here's a one about cursed rings and so on. I'll get into that in a different one. But yeah, so anyhow, guys, yeah, Greek armor over there, but that's the least of that. It was the connection that it made with the symbology that's on it that is more important almost than having found it. Like, here it is. Like, more important than just finding the Greek helmet there, what actually the symbols and symbology that are hooked up with this, and how that connects to so vast amount of people makes the difference. Anyhow, guys, like, share, and subscribe. I just thought I'd throw this in there. Somebody asked me for show me that video, and I'm like, man, I could go and dig back through 1,300 videos to try to find it. And I found one, and I was like, why don't I just do it rather than say, hey, watch this video, go to 12 minutes and 40 seconds. I'll just do one. Like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy.